Hey there, Ill Factor here. Have you ever been in a situation where you're importing one element from an old project into a new project, but yet that element just doesn't feel right or doesn't match the current project or vibe and feel? Well, this is particularly true if you've recorded vocals to a drum pattern from another project, and when you import them into your project, just the overall timing and feel just doesn't feel right or match. I want to highlight in this video how you can extract grooves to add the timing and rhythm and overall vibe and feel from old elements, maybe even such as vocals, and have them adapt and feel right for the current project that you're working on. Let's dive in and I'll show you more. So for this video, I've put together a simple little beat, some drums and some pads and a bass line in there, and I've imported some vocals from another project, an older one, coming from a writing session that I've worked with a very talented singer-songwriter, and I'm using them in this project. Now, the vocals were not sung to this rhythm. They weren't, the whole vibe of that the vocals were written and recorded in were completely different. It was a whole nother vibe. So I'm importing them into this project. You can see here I bounced an acapella and I've imported them here. And now what I've done is I've created a whole new rhythm, whole new vibe. And this is really helpful. Maybe if like you're inspired and you wanted to go a whole nother direction with an idea, or maybe even remixing something. I'm going to show you how I use the groove tool to add the vibe and the rhythm that we're currently working in to the already recorded vocals. So let me just go ahead and play you without any timing correction. Okay, so that's the vocal track in there. As you can see, it sounds fine, but yet it's still, I want to add that pocket. I want to add that vibe as if she was re-recording the vocals to this new drum pattern. So this is what we're going to do. I want to take the timing from my drums, and I'm going to focus on the first drum rack I have here, and I'll solo that. As you can see, if you look in my drums, I really don't do a lot of 100% quantizing. I like keeping my drums a little loose and creating that human element. I'll just highlight these things. They're not necessarily right on the grid, and this kind of gives me that feel that I normally like doing in my productions. I'll quantize, don't get me wrong. I'm not just gonna have like a flopping seagull all over the place, but I just make sure that it's not set to 100, so it gives me that nice feel. I just kind of play by ear and see what I like. So now the first thing I'm going to do is I'm going to right click in this region. I'm going to right click in the MIDI area. I'm going to head over to extract grooves. And what this is going to do is this is going to extract the overall timing, the velocity, sensitivity of my performance, the different patterns that I've gone ahead and sequenced. Now I did this by hand using the push or any MIDI controller. So let's go ahead and extract the grooves. And since this is MIDI, it does it instantaneously. And now what we're going to do is head over to the left underneath the browser window. We're going to hit this little this icon. This is your groove pool icon, and this is going to show you any grooves that you've extracted. So here we see Ill Factor drums. This is a groove. That's the name of this region. That's what shows up here. And I want you to think of this as the destination of where all your grooves that you've extracted go to. So they're all going to live in here in this groove pool. Now here are a couple of things to understand. When you have a groove that you've extracted, you need to determine how much you want the destination, which is going to be the vocals in this context. How close is it going to be? How close is it going to mimic the groove that you extracted? Let's go ahead down here to the vocal. And let's go ahead and to the little clip window on the lower left-hand corner. We're going to go ahead and choose under Groove, Ill Factor 1 drums. Now, the moment you select Ill Factor 1 drums, as you can see, I have a different groove to choose from. We're going to do the one we just extracted. That turns that groove option on in the groove pool. Now here is where you get to determine how close do you want it to match the timing of the drums. So it could be spot on 100%, or you could do, halfway there. And just to make it really noticeable, let's go to 100%. And one of the options I really like is being able to match the velocity. So if I go to 100% on the velocity here, what that means is the vocals will actually mirror the change in volume that the drums are experiencing. So for instance, let's double click this and let's expand this window a little bit, and you can see the difference in velocity. You can see that, this hit here is a lot stronger in the velocity, but then I've got these little softer notes here. Well, once I implement and I commit the groove to my vocals, we should see that the timing in this section here match the velocity of that note. So let's go back to the vocals, and we're going to go over here, select Ill Factor drums. Now we have it set to, we want the vocals to match the groove 100% in its timing. We want it to match the groove 100% in its velocity. That means the change of volume. You can set it to quantize, like how much should it quantize? How much do you want to snap to that quantize? So let's do a little drastic, maybe 80%. We're doing something drastic so you can see the difference. Once you've set the settings that you'd like, go ahead and hit the commit button so that you can add that groove onto the vocals. And once you do that, you'll notice a big difference here. Look at the vocal now. We have changes in velocity, and we have all these warp markers shifting the timing. So let's go ahead and listen to the vocals now that we've added the drum groove to it. So you see how adding the groove to the vocals automatically switched and matched the timing of my drums and implied that onto the vocals. It made it sit better in the overall groove. It wasn't as stiff as it was before. And it also added the velocity changes so that it matched the volume changes that the drums were doing as well. Now, the velocity changes added to the vocals are a little bit extreme, so I'm going to go back to the groove pool. I'm going to adjust it, maybe change a little of the parameters, so I can get the vocals sitting just right. So I can go ahead and undo that, or I can just go ahead and bring the region of the original vocal back. And so now I'm going to splice this region, and let's go ahead and implement the groove again. Let's go back to Ill Factor drum. This time we're going to set the velocity down to 0. I don't want it really to make any volume adjustments, but I do want it to match the timing. And we'll just bring that back maybe down to 96%. I don't know, just kind of, you're going to go back and forth and just see what really works. How does it get the vocals to feel? It's never really just a set it and forget it type thing. You always want to use your ears to make sure that it's in the right pocket. So I did it at 100% so it would be extreme, so you would notice. But I actually did like the pocket that it had, so I'll leave it at 100%. And the quantizing I'll just bring down over to maybe halfway, around 52% or something like that. All right, now let's go ahead and commit that. And now this time all we see is just the warp markers shifting over the time just a little bit. And that is going to match the timing that we hear with the drums. So now this time, let's go ahead and play both of them together. Now let's A-B. So this is what we had before. And what I'm going to do is just I'm going to duplicate this, and I'll stretch this one back. So this will have no warping over here on the bottom. And this one over here will have the groove initiated. So we're going to A-B, and you could tell, and let's just see if we can tell the difference. So let's start with the straight one first. Okay, now go back to the one warped. And you hear it mostly on that section here, and I feel the silence. So I'll go ahead and play that. And this one here doesn't have that altered. So over me, as you can see, just comes in a little bit early and makes it feel stiff, even though it's right in its timing. But adding the new groove sent this back to be a little bit in the pocket. And that's exactly what I'm talking about. Those small little details go a long way, and specifically with vocals. So that's always a really cool trick. Now, this doesn't necessarily you don't have to extract from MIDI to audio. It can also work backwards too. You can extract from audio loops and apply those grooves to MIDI as well. You can go backwards, vice versa. We can also implement the grooves to other elements, such as maybe loops. So here I have this percussion loop, and what I'm going to do is implement that groove to that percussion loop. So we'll go to ill factor drums, and we're going to commit. This time what we'll do is we'll match the velocity a little bit and hit the commit button. And now you see the sticks here, and they should have a little bit more swing to them. And that's a much better pocket for that loop as opposed to just a straight 16th note repetitive sticks. And that's my whole thing. I really like having pocket. I think that's just such a big element of having records just sit well and really just get that head bobbing kind of thing. To me, it's just all about pocket, about that loose, that human element in the production. Well, I hope this video was helpful for you. I hope it sparked some creativity and adding some new grooves and some timing and pocket to some of the elements you're going to be including in your upcoming projects. If you're using this, or this is something new to you, or this is something you're currently using in your workflow, please let me know. Or if you have any questions about this, let me know in the comments section below. I'd love to dialogue and chime in as well. Subscribe so you can stay up to date with upcoming videos that I'll be working on. And also, click the link in the description box below. I have a free gift for you for watching this video. I created an Ableton Live pack with some sounds, instruments, loops, as well as some vocal processing effect chains included in there absolutely for free. Just go ahead and click the link below in the description box, and you could download that right now for free. Well, thank you so much, and I'll see you soon.